Hello, my friends, and welcome to Jacob's Ladder for another eye-opening and amazing show. I'm so happy that you're all here. Oh boy, do we have a lot to get into. When you have a thumbnail as crazy as this, you know that there's something in the works. You know something's going down when you got all that madness. What do we see there? We got like a double rainbow over New York City. We got like a river of wine flowing from Portugal. We got a bride. And we got some AI. Whew. This is a fun show. We got a lot of things to talk about. We got a lot of things to talk about while there's a lot of terrible things going on in the world. And I'm saying hi in the live chat. I see you all. Thank you for coming. Wow, we got a lot of people here already. I didn't expect that. Smash the like so we can get some more. Smash the like so we can get the whole world to hear the earthquake that is going on at Jacob's Well. It's a big earthquake that went on just a little while ago in Morocco. I don't know if you're all aware of it. Some of you sent it to me because, of course, the time that it happened, which was 11:11 p.m. 11:11. Spooky. Spooky that we have such a terrible, 2,000 people. You know, I got to tell you something. We're very lucky. You're lucky if you're watching right now. You're lucky if you have a home right now that's not underwater. You're lucky if you have a home right now that's not caught on fire. I don't want to really say lucky. I'm going to say you're blessed. I'm going to say by the end of this program, you're going to see probably why. Glad that you're here and I'm glad that you're watching. Something went down in Morocco. Now, Morocco is very near and dear to my heart because for a time, I lived with a bunch of Moroccans. That's right, me and my buddy Tommy, right outside of college. Thank you, Sean. God bless you, my friend. I'm going to be talking about Sean. He's close to the Trumpster. He sends me some pictures. We got some things to share in the future. But thank you for the super chat. We got a lot of people here. Unbelievable at this time. I had people living with me from Morocco. They were very devout Muslims. I learned a lot about Islam back then in my early 20s. Very interesting. My roommate Muhammad would bring people in from Morocco. He would bring them in and then it was very strange. It's a very interesting experience, but it's a beautiful, beautiful country. This I know through Muhammad. And my prayers go out for the people that have lost so much. This thing came out like it's not normal for there to be such terrible earthquakes there. It's not normal, not a normal occurrence. Now, the weird thing is that it happened exactly at 11:11 p.m. And that's why, of course, a lot of people have said, Jacob, you got to look into this. Now, you know what's weird? Is that I was already looking for a terrible earthquake to come. Yeah. I talked about it on shows. I said, I think an earthquake's coming. I think there's going to be some terrible flooding. Talked about it on shows. I shared it out on X because of what the Trumpster said. The Trumpster said some weird things. It was veiled. It was very strange. He'd be in the middle of some kind of an interview. And the interview, of course, that would get legs and then everybody would see it and then share it around, become viral. I wonder if that's a coincidence. Where he would say things like, the veil is broken. Or the dam is broken. Very strange, these things that he was saying. So, of course, I talked about them on the program. I said, big earthquake's coming. Terrible flooding's coming. Remember for a while we had everybody was posing next to a beaver? He had AJ. I talked about AJ talking. He showed up at that I talked all about the supermarket that has the beaver. And I said, there's all this beaver stuff. Flooding is going to be a thing. You're going to see it. Said you're going to see it. I also said a lot of other things. I was concerned and I said, I wonder why there's, I see 111 everywhere, like Charles III. I wonder what the 111 would mean. I was concerned. And it turns out 1 month and 11 days from Donald Trump saying all that stuff about the veil being broken and the dam being burst, all of this stuff happens. Very strange. But before I even show you any of that, which I think you should be like, wow, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. It's kind of like the Lord maybe is speaking to us and inspiring us. And we get to see a little bit behind the curtain about what's to come, which gives us hope. Now, a lot of things that went down with this earthquake, which, by the way, I mean, they're still like digging stuff from the rubble. It's horrible. Horrible. And these earthquakes are like relatively rare in North Africa. This is not a normal occurrence, and that's why, I'm talking about it today. And I have a lot of other things to talk about today. You're going to be very surprised by some of the things that I'm going to talk about today, because there is a lot to get to and a lot that's just weird. Just weird. You know who Tommy Truthful is? I've been on a couple of shows with him with the donut. He's nice, really nice guy. He shared my channel out. A lot of people came from his place. And, well, Tommy shared something on the old X app about that earthquake. And I just want to make sure that it is muted. Supposedly this happened above Morocco. Now, once again, I'm not saying any of this is real. I don't even know if this footage is legit. I'm just telling you my story, right? Tommy shares this out, and I re-X'd it because I thought that it was pretty interesting. Because we get a lot of people. Let me get rid of that for now. We get a lot of people that talk about how when we have these major events, weird, unidentified objects, they fly above. Just like Tommy was saying. Does it matter? In the grand scheme of things, I don't care why this terrible earthquake happened. I don't care what really started this earthquake. But I had a feeling that an earthquake like this was coming. Which is strange. Let's take a look. Okay, so if you look over to the left-hand side of the screen, on the top of the screen you have, thank you so much for the super chat. I missed you there. 1111. Right on, Erick. Appreciate that. 1111 is going to be a big part of today's show. You guys you're really, really in for it. So you'll see Kim Runner on X said, any thoughts on what Trump means here? And at the time, what Trump was talking about, here, I'll just show it to you again. He was on the campaign trail in Pennsylvania, and he said, when you break the veil, I'm allowed to do what I gotta do. When you break the veil, I gotta do what I gotta do. I'm gonna do it. There's nothing you can do to stop it. Very strange. Kim puts it out there, says, what does this mean when you break the veil? And I'm going, the veil in the temple. Okay, so like they got this building that houses God. Back in the day, they had a couple of them. Now we house God. But let's just talk about the veil. The veil was the thing, like as it was built, imagine like a church, and imagine like the altar, where the phallus is, and the guy stands underneath the big, I want to say dong. Can I say dong? The big dong? Are we adult enough to be okay with that humor? It's a big phallus, and you stand underneath and you pray. Just imagine that's like the holiest place in most churches that you've probably seen. Well, back in the day with the temple, they had something in the back, and there'd be a veil that would go across. It was a very heavy type of a curtain. And the curtain was made a certain way, and interwoven in it was, believe it or not, cherubim. So there was imaginary creatures. That's what a cherubim is. And so the veil kind of kept you, kept you from understanding the truth of God. Only the high priest could go in like once a year and offer sacrifice. It was a big deal. The veil was like what kept everybody from understanding the things of God. The veil was there, and you couldn't get past it. Now, back in the day, when Jesus was on the scene, when they were putting him to death at Golgotha, which is the place of the skull, the way, the truth, the life, the way to truly live your life was put to death inside all of us, the place of the skull. But there's a literal place called Golgotha, which is called the place of the skull because it looks kind of like a skull. It's a little mountain. When he was put to death there, what happened was there was a great earthquake. Very great earthquake. And the earthquake, the veil was rent in two. It was like rent, meaning it was ripped open. Like if I was to rip my shirt because I'm wearing Ethan's God's Champion shirt, I always wear, no, this is actually a large. I'll be honest, it's a large. I'm not wearing anything small. This is a men's large. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm like 205 pounds. But I should probably wear an extra large if I wanted to not feel like a superhero. But when I do these shows, I like to feel like a superhero, even though I can't really use my left arm. Much like Trump in his card that I shared on the thumbnail. Okay, forget all that. The bottom line is the veil was ripped in two. Like if I ripped the shirt off in two and I flexed, and Danielle would be like, "What are you doing?" Because that would be weird. That's basically what happened when there was an earthquake. So when the Trumpster said, the veil is rent, the veil is broken, I said an earthquake's coming. Now, what's weird is that Kim Runner actually shared this at 11:12 a.m. So she wrote that literally at 11:11. She wrote that X, Z, whatever they call them now. She wrote it at 11:11, shared it at 11:12. And then I wrote beneath it, I said, Kim, the veil is rent, broken, right before Christ returns, manifests. Christ is within forever, so be warned. Matthew 27:51 says, behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain. Twain! You know what twain is? Two. You know what two is? Twins. Like 22. Like Jesus sends his disciples out 2 by 2. How many people in the live chat know I've been talking about 22 a lot, right? You see me fired up. You know why I'm fired up? Because it's like stuff I talked about in the past coming true again. You tell me I'm crazy. Well, I'll tell you what, let me expand this. So September 9th, I pointed out to Kim. I said, do her something. Now, if you take a look right there, now this is weird. To the right of the screen, you'll see where it says the veil is broken. Right underneath it, it says 111 views. Now, can you believe this is true? When I was setting up this show today, and 111 is completely connected to Trump's speech right here. It was 111 views. I think that's crazy. On top, you'll see what I wrote. Earthquake followed by flooding. I hope these things to be mainly spiritual. Weird when it literally happens. Earthquake and flooding hits. 1 month and 11 days from him saying that. That's weird. That's weird. Who would have expected? I didn't expect it. I was hoping that it wouldn't happen, but take a look. So on September 9th, I wrote, wow, this is crazy, Kim. You want to see this? Your post at 11:12 in July about Trump saying the veil's rent that I explained was about an earthquake coming and Christ's return. Well, Trump said those words 1 month and 11 days prior to the earthquake. Not just prior to the earthquake, my friends, but prior to some pretty horrible flooding. especially in Greece. Now, this broke my heart. I'm going to show this to you. This is really horrible. Take a look. Take a look at this. This is Greece. Same day as that Morocco earthquake. This happens. This could be you. This could be me. Look at that. How terrible. 111. 1 month, 11 days from him saying the dam is broken. The veil's rent, the dam is broken. And guess what happens? Well, their dam broke. Their dam broke. But the flooding doesn't stop there. The flooding is like everywhere right now. Everywhere right now. And it's spooky because it's all over China. Like in a huge way. Now, of course, when I'm saying that Trump said the veil's rent, and then I say, that would signal some kind of a terrible earthquake. The dam is broken. That would signal some kind of a terrible flood and like some kind of a failure of a dam. Everybody's showing up wearing the beaver outfit. What do beavers do, right? They build dams. So it's strange because, of course, you know, that this terrible disaster happened. But it also happened in China. They had a typhoon named Haikui. That's right, Haikui. A haiku is a poem. You know that Jacob likes to write the poems. A haiku is a poem that has exactly 17 syllables. 3 lines, 5 syllables, 7 syllables, and 5 syllables. They don't really necessarily have to rhyme, but it's 17 syllables. 17! We know anybody? Do we know anybody that number kind of resonates with 17? Guy who says the dam is broken. 1 month, 11 days. Strange. Crocodiles escaped. That's today's news. That's like, I bring you up to date news. That like literally is like right now news. More than 70 crocodiles escaped because of this terrible flooding. I got to tell you something. It's really horrible. These lingering rains are still battering China. Now it's 7 days in. And in the background of that picture, that's another town. Thank God it's not you. Thank God it's not me. We've got to thank God for these things. The Lord gives, the Lord takes away. We hope that we do the right thing so that we don't have to deal with this stuff. But I got to tell you, some stuff is coming. Some stuff is coming. I haven't even gotten to the good part of the show yet. Now, you know that I'm in the old New York. Ironically, right? They put Jacob right outside of Babylon, New York. Like literally Babylon. My children, for a time, would visit their mom because the guy she was with back then was in Babylon. So for a while, my children were like shuffled off to Babylon. I had to pick them up out of Babylon. Thank God she moved to, Los Angeles. And then they stayed here for a long time. I'm a single daddy, by the way. You know, blended family and everything works. Everything works. God is good. Traditional marriages and all that stuff. Look, the world has really just made things go sideways. You got to be grateful for what you have right now and not beat yourself up if, you're on your second marriage or your third. After the first, you want to make second better. But, some people, it takes some time, I guess. I don't know. I'm grateful because Dan and I, we met each other at the right time of our lives. And it's not easy. But my goodness gracious, do I love her so much. And she loves me so much. And we just had Shiloh's birthday. Shiloh, 9/11, turns 20 years old. She was born at the exact same time that first plane jet, that first jet, whether or not, I don't know what really happened. I wasn't there. I just saw it on TV, but I saw the jet go into the building, the twin. 22. Twin. I saw it the exact same time. That's when Shiloh was born. 2 years later. The nurses and everybody, we were all looking at the clock. We couldn't believe it. It was the same time. Because 2 years after that terrible tragedy, which, by the way, at the time I was doing a show called Thunderbox. And the night before, I was right in that area. The owner of, the production company that was doing it, we were doing a show called Thunderbox. It was about boxing. We were going to do a something at Trump Taj Mahal. It was a pay-per-view called Fistful of Dollars. But we were there the night before, and we stayed there a little bit late, and I told everybody, come in late. Let's come in at 3, I said, instead of early. So kind of saved us. But it was a terrible time because I was working in the city at the time. So I was going in and I was coming out. It was a very, very, very stressful time. That first plane that hit, flight number 11. First revelation I ever had was about the twins coming down. 11. The duality of man being torn down. 2. 2 by 2, they're out. 2 in the field. 2 in the... 2. Very interesting stuff. So, of course, the 22nd anniversary, my daughter turning 20, we had such a great little party for her. It was nice. Something to it. And there was a lot of stuff that actually literally happened that day, yesterday. Blows your mind. But here I am right now in Nueva York, Long Island. We got a lot of people watching. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you very much, Sonny D. I appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. I missed you. I missed you, Rhonda. Thank you. We got a couple of storms that everybody's like, oh, you better be careful. I got some people saying you better get out of New York or you're done. And I say, I trust God. Not going to trust you. Faith the size of a mustard seed, some say, but it's really just the faith of a mustard seed. You just know God's going to do what God's going to do. How can we thwart God's hand? We cannot. So a lot of people think that Hurricane Lee, which means, I talked about this in the last show, clearing in the woods. Just like my novel, which used to be called The Voice in the Dead Woods before it was re-released as the book of Thomas James, The Calling. The clearing in the woods. And in that clearing, the lead character sees God, understands that God's here and that there's going to be a marriage that's going to take place. And I'm telling you, that story is literally playing out in the world today, and it's going to just make you feel so good. Especially if you're into all that prophecy stuff and all. And I'm not a anybody. I'm just a YouTuber, right, that loves God. I got to tell you something. You're not going to get this stuff in other channels. Not going to get this stuff on other channels. They get it from me. And I get it from the Lord, hopefully. So, Climate Week is happening. It's happening. Which is ironic because at the same time, everybody's saying that Hurricane Lee is about to head north. Then we got behind Lee, we got Hurricane Margaret. It's very strange. Joshua Sievers says that September 23rd, that's the big wedding day. I got to tell you something. You may be right. You may be right. I understand all of this to happen spiritually, and thank you, by the way, for the super chat. I understand it to be spiritual, but I also know that if God is showing us a wedding is about to take place in the natural, and God is, then a wedding's about to take place. And by wedding, I mean, this is it. This is it. This is it. comes at a time that you don't expect, like a thief. We got Margot behind, which is, an offshoot of the word Mary, but means pearl. A pearl of great price comes through suffering. To what shall I liken the kingdom of God? It's like a pearl. How's a pearl formed? A lot of discomfort from the oyster. And there's a lot of discomfort going on in the world right now. And you know what's weird? As we have all these crazy events, we got world leaders speaking out, biding our time. Comes up, speaks about all the flooding, about all the stuff. And what does he say? What does he say? Does he say that, we're going to figure this out and we're going to offer aid? And by the way, a lot of people had a problem with him not showing up to the memorial in New York, which, by the way, there was a double rainbow that took place over NYC when they were doing their deal. Double rainbow, huh? Yeah, so he slipped up. Lisa Gordon shared this on Twitter. Let me see if I can pull this up. Let's get rid of this. Yeah, he slipped up. And I'll play this for you.
To convene my entire cabinet as part of a whole of government response.
Oh, look at this, by the way. Posted at 4:44. I didn't even notice that. How awesome is that? All right, take a listen.
To convene my entire cabinet as part of a whole of government response. And that response is to increase the number and intensity of the extreme weather events and be where we're going to use all the resources available to the government to do it. And that response is to increase the number and intensity.
So, clearly you heard it, right? So he said it. Now, listen. I don't think that, that would be like really rubbing your face in it. I don't think he's that good of an actor to come on there and say that in such a way. He clearly is a bumbling meatball, right? He doesn't. That's the role he's supposed to play. After Nebuchadnezzar came another king that most people don't know about. His name was Nabonidus. He was known as the Mad King. Some people think that Nebuchadnezzar was the Mad King, but Nabonidus kind of filled in, and he had a really bad son who was like into the drugs and the partying. And Nabonidus was like, he lost his mind. He was like, he had no marbles. It's very much like we're biding our time. So I don't know if he really meant, you guys, listen, you got to tell me in the comment section if you think that he was like being sneaky, saying something. I don't think he was. I think he just made a mistake. I think he meant to say, because of these events, we're going to try to, put the whole force of whatever. Sometimes people say things, they don't mean to say it, but like God forces them to say it, So, who knows? Maybe there is, maybe there's something going on. Maybe there's something, maybe we don't know everything that's happening, But I do know it's the end. I do know it's the end of the old system, right? Here's the thing, right? You can't put old wine in new bottles. We're in a new day, right? You can't, because if you put the old wine in a new bottle, they'll burst it. Where do you see what happened with the wine soon? Where do you see? But right now in Europe, oh, this is interesting. Another Omega block. Another Omega block. Now, you know all about the Omega block, right? Because we had one in, we had one just here. We had one, the Omega block over the United States. Right after Elon came out wearing that the Omega shirt with the tweet, like, resist the current thing. Interesting. The Omega block is making a big point of talking about the fact that it's really ruining everything because of a storm. A storm called Daniel. Daniel, who I have been talking about on the program quite a bit. If you look off to the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see that was a video I did just, 9 days ago about Daniel's prophecy, about the stump and the roots that God left in the ground bound with iron and bronze in the grass of the field. And then that world leader known as Nebuchadnezzar, let him be drenched with the dew of heaven and let him live among the animals and the plants of the earth. Let Nebuchadnezzar become a beast. Now, we see a lot of stuff happening. We see and we hear a lot of stuff happening about how we've been biding our time for too long. This is something I've said on the channel for a long time, all the way back to before the election. But we got the Omega block again. So when I see stuff like this, now once again, I don't know if it means anything, but in my head, I'm a writer, I'm an author. We know that this is just the greatest movie of all time and that we're just hanging out together and we're just thinking outside of the box. Because that's the only way to be free is to get outside of the box today. 1 month and 11 days from saying the veil is rent. Huge earthquake. 1 month, 11 days, the dam is burst. Huge flooding. Weird. Weirder still, that back when he said it, I caught on to it. It's either that God is like inspiring everybody to do what they're doing and say what they're saying, or maybe this is all just some big, I don't know, simulation. And the key and the way to win the game is to love. And I'm down with that. But right now it looks like this is where we're headed. The Omega block. The Omega block. Not too long ago, we had the exact same weather pattern over the United States. Now, if you remember correctly, when I talked about Daniel, and this is Storm Daniel. I mean, is anybody in the chat, is it just me? Is it all a little too coincidental? I think it's a little coincidental. Just like seeing 22 everywhere. I told you all you were going to see 22 everywhere. Do you remember? Do me a favor right now, leave a comment. And if you remember me telling you that soon we would see 22 everywhere, tell me if you've started to see 22 everywhere. Because 22 is something. It's something. And it's something that we need to pay attention to. So there's just a bunch of articles. You know, I shared that just a couple of days ago. I also explained to you all how 22 is... Oh, and there is, by the way, on the left-hand side of the screen, that's the tweet that I even put out on September 6th. Today, that was 6 days ago. At 11:11, ironically, I said, soon you'll see 22 everywhere. And we are seeing 22 everywhere. Andrew Jackson saying 22. Joe is saying double X. That's 20. Double X. Yeah, because X is 10. The 22nd letter of the Greek alphabet, Chi, symbol for Christ. The 22nd is also the mark. The Hebrew alphabet comes to an end at 22. And there you got a picture of Elon wearing a jacket that says James and the number 22. I don't know if it means anything, but 22. Big deal. In Greek, 22, you know what it means? They have this thing called strong. So like if you're reading the Bible You want to go to the original language? If they have a word, there is a number associated to that word. 22 is associated with an unmarried person. An unmarried person, someone who is about to be married, someone that's waiting to be married, a maid, a virgin. Strange. Strange that we're seeing 22 everywhere. Strange that we saw 22 happen on the anniversary, 22nd, of the twins. Now, don't you find it strange that the Jets of all things, I'm not making that up, folks. The Jets won the game, the 22nd year of 9/11, and the Jets overcame adversity and won the Jets with a score of 22. You'll see my little goofy little Z. That's like, 22. I've been sharing like 22 on everything. Everything. Hey, you want it? I'll show you something else. Let me see if I can pull this up really quick. Let me just take a look at this, because I forgot to include this, and I thought it was very cool. Because 22 is everywhere, right? Oh, here we go. Let me just move this over. So the Trumpster was out flipping bergs. And in this 22-second clip, flipping the bergs in Iowa, 22 seconds. I almost counted up the burgers, but then I thought to myself, hang on a second. I'm not that crazy. But even a Trumpster, flipping bergs, 22 seconds. 22 everywhere you go. 22. Double cross one, John says. And D's Nuts has pointed out that Aaron Rodgers is out for the season. Oh, go figure. Who would have thought? that would happen, right? I don't know. Maybe I did. There's a mystery around this Aaron Rodgers thing. He came out, by the way. That day running with the flag. He was the hero. Remember him? When he kind of like, people would ask him if he had, it's like, what is your status? Remember when that was the thing? And he was like, I am inoculated against. He was like making all sorts of goofy innuendo, because of course he became very anti, and he became a hero for it to a lot of people, and guess who just won the Open? You want to talk about how God shows things through the things that he does? An event that's sponsored by Big Pharma. The one guy that they said you can't play because you didn't get, he wins the whole thing. Novak, I think, is his name. How crazy is that? It's not crazy. The Lord is making everything right. I told you, 2023, this is the year. If they be corrupt, right, things are going to be revealed. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Because Aaron Rodgers, you think the hero, his first game with the Jets, everybody, they cheered him on like he was just a god. They were so excited. And then he had a terrible accident. It wasn't so great. But you do notice the number, right? Let me blow this up here for Biff Don on X, who is such a cool dude. He shared this. Tribute in Light, the history of an annual memorial, and the tribute consists of 88 powered lights. 88. There's that number. What letter of the alphabet is 8? You have to let me know in the comments section if because I think that number is like some people say is like a bad thing. I think it's silly to say these things because it's just a number. And we got to get away from that stuff. But it is strange. I said 22 everywhere, and they win by, what, 6 points? They win by 6 points. The Jets beat the Bills. The Bill's a bull, sort of, right? The Jet and the Bull met each other 22 years ago, and the Jets seemed to win back then as well. Think about that for a second. The Bull of Wall Street. It's just odd. It's just odd. But then you had Aaron Rodgers, who, his Achilles, gone. 4 snaps on the 5th one. Done. What does that say? If he's carrying the American flag, it says USA is about to be halted. Humbled. And let me explain how this works. Because I was just talking to a really cool person on X. Sent the old DM out. Like to encourage people. And I was speaking about the shepherd and the sheep. Now, when the sheep, they get a little too far, sometimes they got to be hobbled. What happens is the shepherd will come over and basically kind of fracture the leg of the sheep. Because it keeps wandering too far. You keep wandering away from me, the Lord is going to break your leg, spiritually speaking. Keep wandering away from the truth, wandering away from love, wandering away from forgiveness. It's going to hurt. But the shepherd knows better. After the shepherd humbles that sheep, picks the sheep up in his arms, gives him a little hug, puts him over his neck, carries the sheep till the sheep's strong again. That's what's coming. That's what I feel is coming. And that's what I think Aaron Rodgers being humbled, carrying that flag means. 22. Because I do have hope. On that anniversary, the fact that there was a huge double rainbow? Come on. What are the odds? What are the odds? When the Virus to the Crown first came out, I did a video back in the day and I said, God is going to send his rainbow to the ark. Remember this? Who remembers? And then a couple of days later, the literal Noah's Ark, it made it was viral, that it was stationed in Ipswich, England or something. And there was a double rainbow and it seemed to land on Noah's Ark, literally 3 days later. But here we are 3 years later, and there's a literal double rainbow over New York City on the 22nd anniversary. So then it's people say, well, are the people in charge? Are they that powerful that they can control everything? Well, if this is a simulation, sure, you can write code. But this is God's simulation, so I think that God's speaking. Let's look at it that way. And what God is saying is, he set his rainbow in the cloud, and it shall be for the sign of a covenant between me and the earth. We're going to get married. I love you so much. I'm giving you my word. We're going to get married. Now, before I get into any of the other stuff, Aaron Rodgers, by the way, his name means mountain of strength and famous warrior. People can appear strong and they can historically be known to be incredibly powerful, but God humbles us all. He's gonna be all right. I had my Achilles snapped when I was working for the old Christian network. I got out there and I was supposed to do just a month to see if I really wanted to go out there and just to make sure everything worked. And within a week on Labor Day, I was playing basketball and I snapped my Achilles because I'd been on so much medication because of my Crohn's disease. And one of the side effects from one of the medications that they had me on was that. Oh, good grief. Look into alternative ways of taking care of yourself sometimes because, there's a lot of avenues people can go today. You can really take care of yourself. You don't need to rely so much on what people tell you. Sometimes just eating right, cutting out certain things in your diet. Long story short, if I had done that earlier, maybe I wouldn't have had such a terrible injury. Injuries that you can come back from, but it's not looking good. It's like I still get nervous when I play basketball. So his Achilles tendon, which of course is a weakness. Of course we remember the old story of Achilles. It's a weakness. But in the grand scheme of things, should we worry? Should we get too stressed out about all this stuff? Or should we just start to kind of get fired up over the fact that there was, of course, a wild little theory going around about Mr. Rogers as well. This guy, David, you see his last name. I don't even want to try to pronounce it because for whatever reason, he's like suspended now. He's not on X anymore. A bunch of people are just kind of taking this tweet that supposedly was shared. It says 11:11 there. I don't know if that was the time it was shared. It looks like 6:01. But it said Aaron Rodgers is going to tear his Achilles on the rain-drenched MetLife turf in 2.5 hours, which would be 2 hours and 30 minutes, which would be 23. Now his account is just somehow gone. I don't know what it means. But some people are saying they're crying foul. I don't know. They're saying, oh, he knew the script. The only David's guy that I could find, I don't know if it's the same guy. They sort of look alike. I don't know if he's the same guy. But he's the president of Warner Brothers. If he is the same guy. If he's the same guy, that's weird. That's weird. Right, Joseph? Thank you very much. Joseph says, Achilles tendon, 846 English Sumerian gematria. And it said that is the tower was at 840. Oh, wow. 846 was when Shiloh was born. So you're telling me that in gematria, the Achilles tendon is 846? That's wild. That's wild. That's wild. But what else is new? What do you see? What else I got to share? Right? Let's talk about the wine. Now, man, if this was Pinot Noir, I would have been upset. I would have been upset. But there's a river of wine that flooded the streets in a town in Portugal. Now, why is this so interesting to me? 22. That's why. 22. Can everybody say 22? Give me a 22. Give me a 22. 22. 2.2 million liters of red wine flowed down the streets in Portugal. 22 means unmarried. And why am I bringing up like a woman for this? Trish Clark says she's late again. No big deal, Trish. Start from the beginning. This is a good show. I'm glad that you're here. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun when you say something in the live chat and I say something back? It's like I wish I could talk to everybody, but I can't. I do love you all, though. I do. So now here's the weird thing, right? Because we're talking a lot about marriage here. The scriptures say that Jesus is going to come back and he's going to come and he's going to take his bride. It's called the marriage supper of the Lamb. And that's supposedly what we're waiting for. But in this town, Watchmen, thank you so much. Asked for a shout out. Gareth, James, and Joseph in the UK. Gareth, Yahshua loves you. Thanks, Jacob. Blessings on you. Listen, if you say, please shout me out, I'm going to shout you out. Thank you so much, Watchman. Watchman, you're a cool dude, too. I always appreciate the things you share. But look at the town that this happened in. Levera. The Levera Distillery. That's where the wine came from. So I wrote Levera Distillery. Where did the water turn to wine? At the marriage. Levera comes from an ancient Hebrew custom by which a man obliges to marry his brother's widow after death. Levera. Marriage. Your brother dies, there's a widow. Levera, leverate, it's a custom where the brother would then, so that the name of Israel, this is a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual thing. It means, will you pick up where those that have gone before you have left off? Where they have died, will you now step up and be the man? Will you take your brother's wife? Will you do the right thing? The spiritual. And this is what's happening. This is the marriage supper of the Lamb that's upon us. Isn't that right, Waxy Mama? Thank you so much for the super chat. This is what it is. But no man can put new wine in old bottles. By the way, they didn't have bottles back then. That's a Mandela effect. They had wineskins, just so you know. Bottles weren't made till much later. So, yeah. We'll talk about that another. I have a whole video, by the way, like a Mandela effect video about the. Don't get stressed out about all that stuff, because you understand the analogy. Doesn't matter if it was changed cosmically or if the the AI changed the code. In the grand scheme of things, maybe we're in a different dimension. Who knows? But you understand the allegory. You can't put new wine, a new message, into an old mindset. It's going to burst. And 2.2 million liters of red wine flowed down the streets in Portugal. That's a lot of something. It's a lot of wine. You want to take a look at this? Take a look at this. Let me show you this, because this is really, this is something else. All right, let me pull this up. I mean, this is from, can you believe this? So the question becomes, what is not incredibly prophetic about this? Like, does anybody think that this isn't a sign for us? Streets are flowing with wine, new wine, because the old bottle burst. That's what happened. The container burst, couldn't hold it. It was probably too old. And when water is turned to wine, what does that remind you of? Reminds me of an old story in the old scriptures about one of the first miracles that Jesus took care of. One of the first ones. One of the first. Like, he begins his ministry. And he goes to a wedding. And what happens is the wine that they were serving in the beginning, it was all right. But the wine that Jesus brought, man, it was good. Man, it was good. There were they had these pots for ritual washing. It was, it'd be like where you take a shower. Okay? So imagine that. Hey, this is what you do before you go to the temple, before you go, you pray. You better wash yourself. We got 6 pots that we usually fill with water, so you could use that at the temple to wash yourself. So Jesus says, fill the 6 pots with that water. I'm going to turn it to wine. We were just talking about the Pool of Siloam, how it was rediscovered, rebuilt, and how the Pool of Siloam is where you start your journey to the temple. So at the wedding, the very thing that cleanses us is turned to wine, to a new spirit, to a new truth, and it lifts us up. It's all about marriage. Everything we see today seems to be about marriage. It's like God himself is saying, I'm coming. I'm coming, you better be ready. I'm coming, you better be ready. Now this is, you want to talk about weird. Take a look at this. Hang on, let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this. Take a look at this. Do you know this movie that's coming out? It's called The Creator. It looks like a great movie. I can't wait to watch it and then decode it for you. Take a look, by the way, at the clip. It's 22 seconds. What are the odds? What are the odds of this happening every time I sit down, right? It's, I think it's like an innumerable. I think the idea is to believe that this is just by chance now. You'd have to kind of be silly. So, at this Chargers-Dolphins game at the SoFi Arena, they had in the audience AI. They had robots watching the game, walking around. Now, they look like actors to me. I don't know if they're really robots, but I will tell you that that's what all the articles are saying, that it was legit AI. And it was to promote The Creator. Now, here we have, everybody's talking about 9/11. Michael Morrison, thank you very much for the super chat. Here we're talking about 9/11, and we have The Creator showing up in the middle of a football game. Take a look at these robots. They're like freaky looking. Now, why is he holding, let's just pause that for a second. Why is he holding that? I don't even know what that is, but it looks like a demon emoji who's been blacked out by the thunderbolts of Satan. That's what it looks like. But who knows? But this is what they were doing. Now, you know what's ironic is, you know what that woman is wearing? The one that was wearing was next to the guy with the weird thing. Number 29, 11. Everything's 11, 11. Everything. 22 everywhere you look. There's something going on, people. Something is going on in such a weird way, I don't even know where to begin. But I do know that we do have some weird stuff coming soon. Remember, I've talked about this comment. I'm going to talk about it again. Not right now. But this is in the news. Speaking of 22s, got the twindemic coming out around the same time that there were 2 new victims identified. 2. Now, ironically, you look at that article by Sky News, somebody pointed out, Chris Lane pointed out 22. Right there. What is God saying? 22 is an unmarried woman. I'm coming for my bride. That's what I believe it means. Twins. 11 is a very significant number. The twins, very significant. And Elon, he now has 11 children as well. We just found out that he, congratulations, he's just welcomed another child with Grimes. And you probably remember that, his book's coming out. So the biographer leaked this picture. I don't think leaked. I probably just sent the picture out. Now, of course, it was probably approved by him, of his twins. I mean, why would he have a problem? These are his children, right? He doesn't care if they're... But, Grimes and him are doing a good job. Especially Grimes says that her priority is keeping my babies out of the public eye. And now they have this third child, making it 11. And there's a picture of Elon with a jacket that inexplicably has 22. I'm sure there's an explanation. I haven't gotten one yet. I don't know what it means. But I do know that 22 is 11:11. Revelation 22 is the last book of the Bible. 11:11. Just wild to me. Elon actually said, he believes in having children because he thinks, the birth rate is a thing. He believes in having children with very smart people, So, and I think, and I got to tell you something. Speaking of smart, Grimes is pretty smart. She just, they just did like an article over her with AI. I guess she's very influential. These are very influential people. Maybe they have a little bit of a different life, a little different lifestyle than we're used to, but yeah, I'm divorced. We make it work. We got to stop judging people. We got to start just encouraging them, meeting them where they're at. Because really, the only marriage that matters, this is the thing. Jesus said this. Because speaking of that town where you're supposed to marry the widow of your brother, when Jesus came into the town, after he sent people out 2 by 2, they challenged them. They said, who's supposed to marry? If you have all these brothers and they all die, who marries? And Jesus is like, Moses gave you that law of divorce, marriage. There's no marriage in heaven. We can't comprehend it, he was saying. There's no marriage because of the hardness of your heart. Y'all wanted to get a divorce, so Moses gave it to you, but that's not the way it is in the kingdom of heaven. It's not the way it is in the kingdom of heaven, by the way, in the scriptures. Righteousness, peace, and joy. I remember when I was working at the old Christian television network, the biggest one in the world. God put me there. Strange. I remember being judged because I was going through a divorce. They said God hates divorce. But I knew that the divorce that God hated was being divorced from God. That's the divorce. The literal that we see, that's an expression. And people have used this expression in this tradition to subjugate women and to do a whole lot of other stuff. But there is a marriage that's coming. It's not a marriage you're used to. And it may not look like my marriage or your marriage or Elon's marriage or anything else. But it's going to change this world. And it's going to change it in a very big way. So I hope that you're all ready. Because I certainly am. All right, so listen. I want you all to just have the best day ever. I think I'm going to get out of here. I'm supposed to now tell you. I should, because this is, I'm by myself here, and it's not like the old YouTube does a great job paying the bills. Thank you for those that support me on Patreon. I have this thing called Patreon. I share things now and then that I don't share elsewhere. You can always email me there. You can, in the links of the description of the video below, if you click on the description, you have to click more. It'll open up. You can do that. If you want to get yourself some of the merch, all of this helps in a big way. It really does. And of course, my sponsor, which I just love this company. I love all their products. You don't you don't got to worry about dying when you clean, because it's toxin free and chemical free, and it's just a great company. You go to trulyfreehome.com, go to the website, check stuff out there. You get anything you want. You want skincare? You want skincare that you put on your face and it has no, terrible this, terrible that. Every day we hear, this thing. Baby powder. Did you hear about Johnson & Johnson baby powder? We've been putting baby powder. They probably got baby powder. Just go there. You don't got to worry about any of that stuff. It's a new day. They're companies like Truly Free Home there's going to be a whole other system that's going to be for people that love, that are part of a community. And I'm grateful that you all are a part of mine. So thank you so much. Have the best day ever. If you want, you, of course, go to Amazon, get yourself a copy of The Calling, leave me a review. I save all this stuff to the end because I don't want to trouble people with it, but it really does help. And liking the videos and sharing the channel around with others, leaving a comment, all this stuff. If you are not interested in the other stuff, that is helpful. So I thank you for it. All right, I got to go because the Dan Dan's home now. I love you all.